Hello and welcome to the collapse experiment. Yes, I am wearing a different hat. The Cowboy Bebop hat. Got really wet today. We got a lot of, not a lot of snow, but it's wet. It's powdery. So I'm sure the ski resorts are doing well, but it's Sunday. They're probably wishing they had gotten this a few days ago. So, finding your own space. Or as Superman called it, the Fortress of Solitude. A lot of guys have man caves, but I like to think of it more as an inner space, your own inner peace, the thing that keeps you out of jail sometimes. Yeah. How do you keep that calm when things are happening? And sometimes that guy just keeps running his mouth. The one who almost ran you off the road with his big ass pickup truck. The chick that you just walked in on that's banging your best friend. Some people call it just being the better man, the better person in the situation. Others would refer to it as Zen, just finding yourself in the moment and realizing what the right thing is, which is a lot of times just walking away. It's one of those truths that you learn in martial arts if you have a good teacher, where if you are able to walk away from a fight, you won. Because the other guy, he's wanting to fight. He wants to knock you out or hurt you, embarrass you in front of other people because of his ego. You just want to go home in one piece. And so if your goal is to just go home in one piece, and you can do that without hurting the other guy, who may deserve to get his ass knocked out, didn't you both win? He gets to basically say that you're a sissy, you're a pansy. Look at him. Meanwhile, you're like, I didn't get hit. I'm not going to the ER. He's not going to the ER. Some people are gonna look at this video and, oh, you're such a pansy, blah blah blah. No, there's just some dude. Yes, there are some dudes that deserve to have their ass knocked out. I agree with that. It's whether or not it's worth it. You sometimes have to ask yourself the question, is this worth going to jail for? Which, where I live, there's a lot of guys who are not really good at asking that question. Oh, I did something stupid. They usually have one or two teeth missing. Sometimes drugs are involved. Usually it's alcohol. It's just an everyday, common way of life. There was a book I read years ago, and it was interviewing all these different fighters. I want to say the author's name was Henderson, and I can't remember the title of it, but I believe it was the Militich camp, Iowa. It was the early UFC. And then the interview, they're talking about, he didn't have his bridge in for his teeth, and so the journalist who was writing the book and doing the interview pointed out, like, I didn't know you had so many teeth missing. And he's like, yeah, this is from my younger days. And the dude's still in his 20s. So he's like, what the hell does that mean? And he's like, well, before MMA and before guys had something to focus all of that energy on, everybody would just go out to the bar. And it was they called it the Friday night fuck or fight. Either you're leaving with a girl or the guys are in the parking lot beating the shit out of each other. Those were your two options for how the weekend ended. And I've had comments on here about, there's one guy said something about how he was really surprised that there was never an actual fight club that was created because of like the movie and the popularity, the book. The movie, it was the one case where the movie was actually better than the book. Debate me on that. Even Chuck Palahniuk said the same thing. Like things that he could have done in the book, the guy who wrote the movie script actually fixed a lot of things. It made more sense for the movie. But so one of my viewers was pointing this out, saying like, I'm really surprised that there wasn't like actual fight clubs. Turns out there was. I believe it was in the Portland area, and it was like mid-2000s. I remember seeing these news reports of these guys getting together in like public parks, and they'd clear out a spot, and they basically went by the same rules as the actual fight club, where they're like, no shirt, no shoes, fights will go on as long as they have to. And the thing with Portland is that according to the law, as long as two guys, actually it's not even two guys, as long as the two individuals consent to the fight, it's not assault and battery. It's two guys choosing how to settle their differences. And that, as much as I like to rag on the West Coast, that is actually a law I can get behind. There are definitely people in our society, you can tell by the way they act, you've never been punched in the face. Me, I've been punched in the face, I've been kicked in the face, I've been knocked out, choked out. The one thing I can say that I haven't lost a tooth due to that. I've had chipped teeth, yes, even with the mouth guard. I ended up having a chipped tooth, a couple of them actually. No broken bones, not even while doing that. And I know I mentioned my broken toe earlier as to why I can't really do any type of long distance running anymore. No, that's a totally different story, and it's stupid, and it has absolutely nothing to do with any of the stuff I was involved in. Of course. Like, people will look at, the things I did martial arts wise, and it's kind of a miracle I came out of all that stuff with as little injuries as I did. The worst one I had was when I was doing judo. I didn't get far in judo. For one, I wanted to spend more time learning how to be thrown, which is very important, helps prevent injuries. But the instructors thought otherwise. So I kind of had this rule where if I'm challenged to sparring, regardless of who it is, I go with it because I view it as a learning experience. If this guy is 1,000 times better than me, I can definitely learn something from him even while getting my ass kicked. What is he doing that I am not? So this one class, this black belt comes over, and the black belts, the guys who actually ran the school, were these middle-aged mechanics. And there's one of them, he was short. I remember him being bald. This was over 10 years ago now. And had a robust belly, I should say. And he like waves me over, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I was not a fan of randori. I didn't feel comfortable with it at the time. My goal at that time was don't get thrown. If you can prevent yourself from being thrown in that 2 minutes, okay, you're doing good. You're making it complicated for somebody to win, right? Because that's the other thing. I didn't really know how to throw anybody. I wasn't going to try going for like an arm bar, a standing arm bar. There's some crazy stuff you can do in judo. And I really didn't know much of anything at this point. So we're going back and forth. He shoots in a couple of times. I'm able to either swat his hand away or back out of it. And I can tell he's starting to get frustrated and pissed off. And I'm just like, come on, when is the buzzer going to go off? When is the buzzer going to go off? And then he comes at me, and I have no memory of what happened other than being on the floor, and I felt/heard. It's almost like the sound of it happening went up my leg and into my ears, if that makes any sense. My knee went like this, and I start hollering. I'm like pounding on the floor, tapping out. I'm I'm hollering, I quit. Something like that. Maybe that's not exactly what I said. I don't even remember exactly what I said. And I'm just like, oh my God. And the whole room stops and everybody's looking over. And the black belt gets up and he's kind of looking around like, oh shit. Because, and this is where it becomes like a game of politics almost in the dojo. Because one of the things he quickly did after they got me off the floor and two guys had to help me over to, they had like these little mini bleachers on the side of the dojo for family and people to come in and watch. And I'm over there and somebody said like, hey, can you put weight on it? And as soon as I put weight down on it, it folded back. Like I had no control over that leg. And I was like, oh my God. Granted, nothing was broken, but definitely hyperextended. I probably like tore some ligaments or some shit. I have no idea. And the very next day, me and my ex-wife were going on our 5-year anniversary back down the Gatlinburg. It was, I forget how many hours of driving. And I just messed up thankfully it was my left knee. I need my right leg to drive. And so one of the things the black belt was like, that was your fault, right? I just kind of gave him this look, and I'm like, yeah, it was my fault. Me, the white belt, the inexperienced guy who you just like slammed onto the floor because you were getting irritated I wouldn't let you throw me. Yes, it's all my fault. I didn't say the last parts. I just said yes because I was still going to that dojo. He's the one that runs the school. I think in his mind he was afraid I was going to fucking sue his ass. And I'm not the type of person to go around suing people. I consider that a really shitty and lousy way to go about life. I'm going to sue ya. Okay. Yeah, make everybody's lives fucking miserable because you're an asshole. There are times, yes, I do understand there are times where it is appropriate and you should sue somebody for something. But in that case, I have to admit, I did put myself into that class. I did know that it was a martial art and that there was throwing involved. And that judokas, people who practice judo, usually have knee and elbow injuries later on in life that they chronically deal with. I knew all of this going into it. But the one thing I could control was the fact that not going to judo again. No, that was a couple weeks of recovering from that one. Didn't go to the hospital. No, what I did instead was I wrapped that knee, and we ended up hiking several miles in the Smoky Mountains for a week with my knee wrapped up, just trying to get it back to where it should be. So, finding that place, that mental clarity, there's a calm that you learn, especially in martial arts, where during a fight, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And you have to learn, even after you get punched in the face, you can't get pissed off. You have to have that self-control. You have to figure out a way out of the situation that you're in, whether it's in the ring or it's on the street or it's outside of a bar. That mental clarity of doing what needs to be done, not what you want to do, but what needs to be done. So you hear these stories of these guys that get into these fights and one of them walks away and the other goes to the morgue. I didn't mean to do that. It's tough. There's a balance. No, you didn't mean to do that, but that's what happened. That black belt, did he mean to do that? No, I hope not. But he sure as hell didn't have that mental clarity. There was no effort in trying to make sure that the student that you are responsible for, the one that you want to keep coming back because it's money, that's all dojos are, is a source of income for the sensei. He can go into all the other stuff, but it's a business. First and foremost, it's a business. And by doing that thing, he lost me as a student. I didn't go back to judo after that. And I don't know. There might have been a couple of other students that were just like, oh shit, yeah, maybe this is a bad idea. I don't want to be like that guy. So even in the tough times, when things are stressed out, when you're getting frustrated, and yes, I have issues with this too, there's that place. You gotta find that place in your head where you're like, how am I gonna handle this? What is the right way? What is the correct answer here? And even then, sometimes you're not gonna come up with the right answer. But that's not to say that you shouldn't try. Some people just like to force their way through things, and other people, that's the only thing they know how to do. These are the bullies at your job site, usually your boss. Fucking do it! Fucking do it, I say! I've had a couple of those recently. And yeah, the one current, actually all of them are former military. Even the one I'm dealing with now, former military. I brought up to one of my coworkers, we've had this ongoing battle between the day shift and the night shift. And we keep getting blamed, the night shift keeps getting blamed for shit that the day shift is doing. And they keep going back and forth. And one of the supervisors was like, yeah, every day it's the same thing. They keep telling these people to do this, and they just fucking don't do it. And I was like, I came back and said, is this place run by the military? The guys that don't know how to win a war. They can't really even focus on what the goal of a battle is. Well, we got to show restraint on the battlefield. And the soldiers are all like, what? You want to reward us for not killing the enemy? And I was like, is that who's running this place? And then she looks at me and says, yeah, so-and-so is former military. And I was like, that explains everything. The last 6 to 9 months, going back and forth about the same shit with no results whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, totally makes sense. Remember how we were fighting ISIS forever? That group? And then somebody gets in the office and it's just like, yeah, double their budget. Give them whatever they need. And the administration before that was like, we can approve you for half of what you say you need for this mission. So the guys got smart and started asking for double what they really needed just to get the approval for like what they had to have to accomplish their mission. Yeah. It's kind of like what I deal with, except it's the Obama administration at work right now. And there's no hope, there's no future of having somebody responsible to come in and say, what is it that you need to actually do your job? Not what they're giving us. They want X, Y, and Z. We can provide X. Why can't you do Y and Z? Well, they keep cutting our hours. They don't give us the time to actually accomplish the things that they need us to do. Allegedly. So yeah, that's... And meanwhile, my happy place at work is knowing I have the one job nobody wants to do. I'm only there for the health care. Meanwhile, the boss will come in and say, with what we're paying you. Dude, I get 3 hours a day, and my wife and kids qualify for Medicaid on what you pay me. It's not bragging rights. Even with the insurance, they qualify for Medicaid. Yeah. Oh, you pay us so well. Keep on typing.